What an awesome day today. Well, it's the next day. It's Sunday. I did want a spare day today, but I've got a week off work after this week. Got 5 days and then got a week off. So I don't really want to be doing engine swaps on my week off, even though you would think it's a good time to do it. I just want to sort of chillax and maybe start to do some things on my car. Maybe fit my new stereo. We'll see how we go. So I wasn't going to come out today and do this, but I thought, might as well. I know once I grab some tools and get going, we'll be right. So I'm hoping to possibly have this in today. If I get a start and don't piss fart around too much, this engine's ready to sort of bring up to the shed and start pulling it out. So that's the plan. I'm going to see if I can get some hands and help push it up just into the shed, and we'll start getting the thing unbolted. Moved a bit of crap around, got plenty of room in here now. Got the patrol out of the shed and engines out the way, sorted for now. So I need to get some hands, gather up some people and get a push into the shed, because this sand and grass is soaked and there's no way I'm going to be able to get it up there by myself. So see if we can get some hands. Objective done. Got some hands and got the old girl up into the shed. So now the job will be to chock the back wheels up and start. I'll probably take off the wiring and stuff here. I've already started to loosen this off. Take off some bits up the top, disconnect the heater hoses and stuff, and then we'll get it up on stands and start hitting that bell housing. I'm going to have to do something with the bonnet as well, because the crane's obviously going to hit this. I'm not sure if I can just pull off these struts and fold it back. That'd be good without having to take it off. But I'll worry about that a little bit later. Get started. Well, I've made a start. I took the airbox out just to give me some more room, get the air compressor for the aircon out. I had a bit of a hiccup. I snapped the bolt in the power steering pump. I don't know if you can see there. So that's handy. I'll have to try and get that out later, but that's something we can sort out later on. Not really fussed. I've got the other pump there. I just didn't want to undo any lines because I know they can leak once you start piss farting with the seals on them. But yeah, can sort that out later. Undone all the hose clamps for the heater hoses, so just got to pull those off. All the wiring's disconnected. Those looms are a pain in the ass to get out of here without damaging them, but we've done that. So everything's pretty much disconnected at the top. Just going to take those engine mount bolts off, or nuts, and then I'll look at getting it up on the stands and jump underneath, start taking the starter motor out. Well, we're making pretty good progress. It's almost ready to come out. All I've got left to go is the 2 bolts at the top on this side, which are the pain in the ass ones, just because you can't get to them. What I'm going to try and do is lower the cross member on the gearbox as far as I can, which will hopefully tilt the motor and give me some clearance to get the, I've got a whole lot of extensions, 1/2-inch extensions, and get up the top to get those out with the ugga dugger. Nothing's been too tight on this engine, so hopefully they'll come out just as easy as everything else has. Apart from those, I've still got to disconnect the 2 fuel lines, but I've left those till last because I don't want to be rolling around in fuel underneath there. I've got one more heater hose to get off there, which was just pop that off, that's easy. And the wiring on the transmission, but I'll do that when I tilt the cross member back. And apart from that, she's ready to come out. So I'll get onto those bolts and hopefully not get stuck on them for too long. I've got the torque converter bolts out, so it's almost there. And she's ready to go. It's ready to lift up. I've got to do literally one more thing, which is disconnect those transmission lines. I've got the fuel lines off, they come off no worries, but the transmission lines, I don't want to break them, so I'm going to have to get under and unclip those, hopefully, without breaking them. And then I'll jack the car up I've just got the hoist here to make sure it all fits, and it does. I might be able to hopefully have enough room to slide it back if I move some of this crap, and I can leave the car here instead of roll it back, because the gearbox is basically just held up by the 2 jacks at the moment, because I lowered the back to get the 2 top bolts out on this side. They come out relatively easily, which is good. And I don't really want to go bolting the gearbox back in, because I'm going to have to lower it down again to get those bolts in on the new one. So it's just held up by the jacks. But I might have to get the cross member back up and get 1 or 2 bolts in just to hold it, because I'll need this jack to get the car down off the stands. So a little bit to do, but not much, and it's ready to lift out. Well, I got the transmission lines off relatively easy. I just had a bit of a play with the ones on here just to sort of suss out how they come off, and we got them off pretty quick. So I've just started to jack it up just to see what happens, and I think we're free. It looks that way. I've just tied off the aircon compressor. I don't want that hanging on the rubber hose. It's not good for it. It's got to move the power steering one as well. I might get some cable ties and just cable tie that one to that battery box thing. And then I'm just going to have a quick look underneath, make sure the gearbox is all good. I don't want it to drop down and fall onto the ground. Otherwise I'm going to have to then get the jack underneath it and get it back up, which will be a bit of a pain. And I don't want the torque converter falling out either, because I don't want to spill shit anywhere, fluid. But yeah, we're making some progress. So I've just moved the chain again to the center of the engine because it was on a bit of a tilt. And I think it's going to be, yeah, it's coming out now. Oh, there it is. It's out. Yep. Well, it's all but out. You can see how close it is at the back here, and that's touching at the front, so there's literally only millimeters of clearance, so you've got to make sure you have the engine. I've got on a little bit of a lean, but yeah, it's very tight. But I haven't damaged anything, it's coming out nicely. So we'll keep going and hopefully clear this radiator support without having to piss fart around and lower the car down. And there she is. It's out. Plenty of clearance. Looks like it's had some leaky issues. But yeah, I'll just slide this crane out and get it down on the ground. Main thing is, she's out. And that's the aftermath of getting it out. That's what they had in as an engine mount. So basically, that was just resting on the frame, like that. Not ideal at all. So I'll, yeah, I've got the other one down there. I'll use that bracket, clean it up, get that on there how it's supposed to be, and make sure that that's in properly. Put the bolt in and sort that out as well. Dodgy. Alright, we've sorted out the engine mount, got that fixed, and I put the bolt back in that way. That was in the other way. I don't know if that's right or not, but that's the way they came out of the other car. Both of them were facing the same way, so I just put them back in that way. Gave it all a bit of a wipe down in there. Nothing fancy. I just want to get this back in. I could spend all day out here cleaning it and making it look pretty, but to be honest, I just want this thing back in. And she's all in. The missus helped me line it all up, so it was all good. Didn't damage the sensor at the back. Went in pretty smoothly, actually. I've just got the first few bolts in the bell housing, so that's all good. It's all lined up. Now that they're in, I've just got to lift the engine a little bit and get the bolts back in for the engine mounts. Ended up taking those out just to piss fart around with that, but it's all in. I wasted about an hour and a half stripping the wiring harness off this engine because I realised I just wanted to put everything back on how it was, and then I noticed I think it's the map sensor, has a different part number. This one, pretty sure that's the map. It's a different part number, so I don't know if it's going to affect it. I was gonna swap it all out, but it was just taking too much time just to get the fucking wiring harness out. So if I have any issues, I'll have to do it in the car, but fingers crossed it's all good. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna have it in and started today, but I've got a few bolts in now already, so it's a possibility. We're pretty close, really. Just putting everything back on, which is usually quicker than taking it off, but I do want to change some things over. I've got to swap over the pulley. I'm probably going to change over the tensioner as well, just because these ones are in the accident, and I don't know how reliable they're going to be. So, and while everything's out, they're only 10mm bolts, they'll be easy enough to change out. So I'll get on with it and get these last few things hooked up. I've still got to put all the coils back in, but that's all relatively easy. The throttle body's on there very loosely, so I can get that coil cover on. But yeah, it's all pretty straightforward. We'll keep at it. It's just about there. It's starting to get a little bit dark. It's 5:20 in the afternoon here, but the rain's pretty much set in, just drizzle, so it's making it dark outside. So I've got a little light set up down underneath there. I've got all the bolts in for the bell housing. I used all the 1/2-inch extension bars, which made life easy. Just lowered the back of the gearbox down, same as getting it out, and gave me good access to get in there and tighten them up. And I've just put the cross member back up, so I've just got to lift up the tail shaft, put the 2 bolts in the centre bearing, the little 10mm, they're easy. And that's the whole bottom end buttoned up. The only thing I haven't done is tighten up the engine mounts, because I knew I'd be tilting the engine to sort of get everything on the bottom end. But they're easy, and easy access for them as well. So yeah, we'll do those. And I'm not sure if I'm going to keep going. All I've got to do now is all the little things, like put the heater hoses on, put the radiator back in, radiator hoses, coil packs, all that sort of stuff, plug the ECU in, and that's about it. Swap over these 2 pulleys, well, the pulley and the tensioner, but they're easy. They'll take not even 5 minutes. So I might just keep going for a little bit before it starts getting too dark. I've got work early in the morning tomorrow. I'm back on mornings, so I'm not going to be able to do anything tomorrow, maybe when I get home. But I'll try and get as much as I can done now before it starts getting too dark. And then I might be able to get out here in the afternoon tomorrow and get it finished and hopefully started. Fingers crossed. We'll see how we go. Well, that's it for tonight. It's pretty much done. I didn't get to doing the pulleys and stuff, but I was just underneath putting the centre bearing back up, and the exhaust, refitted that, so everything's all good. All the wiring's back on the gearbox now. So now it's just buttoning everything up. I've got a snap bolt in the power steering pump. It's one of the smaller ones, so it might be alright. Not ideal, but we'll see how it goes. Can always swap it out later. That's it for tonight. We'll come back tomorrow and hopefully have it running in the afternoon. Hopefully. I don't see why we shouldn't, but yeah. Until then,